Chris Bosh, the third player of the Miami Heat Big Three, also a member of the legendary 2003 draft class. His career was a very interesting one, to say the least, as during his time with Miami, he was often seen as the third wheel of LeBron and D Wade, but at the same time, most would say that he didn't get enough credit for his contributions. But there was also his time with the Raptors, that many people have seemingly forgotten about. What is up with it, everybody? My name is Luke, and in this video, let's talk about Chris Bosh. How good was he actually, and where does he rank among power forwards and all time? As mentioned before, Chris Bosh was drafted 4th overall in the 2003 draft, right after Carmelo Anthony and right before Dwayne Wade. For some extra context, the Raptors were in a bad spot, having just missed the playoffs the season prior, and Vince Carter was unhappy about the way the team was going. He would eventually be traded to the New Jersey Nets in the middle of Bosh's sophomore season for basically nothing. But anyway, with Bosh, he didn't have an amazing rookie season by any means, especially when you compare him to LeBron, Melo, and Wade, but it was good enough to land him a spot on the all-rookie first team. He averaged a modest 12 points and 7 rebounds, but showed good promise as a 19-year-old rookie. Through the next couple of seasons, with him eventually becoming the guy the Raptors wanted to build around, Bosh improved drastically and made the All-Star game for the first time in 2006, which was his third season, where he averaged 23 points and 9 rebounds on solid efficiency, scoring at a 59 true shooting percentage. Something that made Bosh stand out as a player was his incredible versatility as a big man, which at the time was not common at all. He could shoot, post up, drive, and was a pretty good passer for a big man. He consistently demonstrated his elite and unique skill set well. The next 2 seasons, he was able to carry the Raptors to the playoffs, which was really impressive when you consider the team he had. His best teammates were probably Jose Calderon and Andrea Bargnani, the bust. But in spite of that, he still led Toronto to his 47 wins in 2007 and 41 in 2008. Unfortunately, those are the only playoff appearances that the Raptors had during the Chris Bosh era, and they got knocked out of the first round both times. Basically, Toronto really struggled to build around him, but at the time, it was kinda understandable. Back then, Toronto was not as popular of a market compared to now, as players did not view it as a super big place to be, and the Raptors didn't get much publicity on US television either, which meant a lot of NBA fans did not really get to see them play. After these underwhelming seasons, Bosh decided to join Dwayne Wade in Miami in the summer of 2010, which I'm sure everybody remembers. As a side note, however, he actually made this decision before LeBron. During his stint in Toronto, Bosh averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds, and inevitably, he had to make sacrifices to help the team succeed, like what we saw with Kevin Love in Cleveland. As a result, his stats dropped, and he averaged his fewest points since his sophomore season. He pretty much had to defer to LeBron and Wade on offense, as those guys needed the ball to be effective more than he did. This resulted in many people making fun of him, yet when the team didn't do well, Bosh was often the scapegoat. For example, Shaq said that Miami only had a big 2. Stan Van Gundy called him a lapdog. Scottie Pippen referred to the Heat Big Three as 2.5 men, and KD called Bosh a fake tough guy. Bosh knew about all these things, yet he didn't let any of it get to him and just continued to focus on the game. Unfortunately for him, much of his sacrifices were incredibly overlooked, and nobody talked about how he had to change up his playstyle a lot to fit the team's needs, basically becoming a full-time stretch four and pretty much abandoning his postgame entirely. Not only that, but Bosh also improved defensively, knowing he would have to make up for his fewer touches on offense on that end of the floor. Miami during this Big Three era implemented a defensive scheme known as blitzing, which is essentially trapping the pick and roll in order to make the offense uncomfortable and force them to make bad passes. Bosh was effective with this because he was fast enough to defend guards and switch, while also having good enough length to recover to the paint. However, people did not give him much credit for his ability to defend like this, as this was an era where defense was dominated by big men who had good rim protectors, with players like Dwight Howard and Joakim Noah who come to mind. And that's why he never made any All-NBA defensive teams. They're the reason why Eric Spoelstra himself said that Bosh was the Heat's most important player, saying, He is our most important player, and he's as steady and consistent as he always has been for the last 2.5 years. He makes it look easy, and he makes it look quiet, yet he's so impactful on the game. He was big under the rim, and not just his scoring, but the big plays defensively at the end. Although LeBron was still the best player in the world, period, I think you can definitely make a case for Bosh being the second best on the Heat, as around 2012, Wade did start to slowly decline, while Bosh still continued to make his contributions on both ends of the floor. While most fans and people in the media overlooked Bosh's impact, the Heat organization did not, and they made it clear they wanted to make Bosh their new franchise player after LeBron left. He signed a massive deal, worth $118 million over 5 years. Surely enough, in the 2014-15 season, Bosh's scoring averages went back up to over 20 points per game before his season sadly got cut short due to blood clots in his lung that came up around February 2015. Unfortunately, he was never able to recover from this, as the issues started to occur again the following season. He took blood thinners to try to remedy his condition, but it was still too risky for him to play, even though he really wanted to. And after that, Bosh quietly retired from the NBA. So, how good was Chris Bosh actually? He was incredible, a 2-time champion, 11-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA selection, top 15 to 20 player in his prime, a soon-to-be Hall of Famer, and a top 10 to 15 power forward ever, in my opinion. It might be weird to see him have only one All-NBA selection, but to be fair, there was a lot of competition at his position. Remember, he did play in an era with other great power forwards like Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, and even Pau Gasol. While Bosh was often labeled as soft for the way he changed his playstyle from all post-up to stretch 4, he's honestly an ideal power forward for today's game. Athletic, versatile, a good shooter, and can defend both the perimeter and the inside, with no real weaknesses in his game. In other words, if he was to be a draft prospect now, he'd easily be one of the most sought after players. After all, he was truly ahead of his time. And to be blunt, the fact that he did not make the Hall of Fame this year is just blasphemy. But that's okay, because he's gonna get in very soon, and I know it. Anyway, that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications. Let me know your thoughts on Chris Bosh. What were your favorite moments from him during his career? And with that, I'm out. See you guys next time.